Hi. My name is Jayce, he, they, it please, and today I'm talking about something very hotly debated in art spaces, especially Twitter. As a disclaimer before we begin, I'm mostly going to be using stories from other people, and all the opinions I've gathered are from people of color, people who have original characters who are POC, and I use historical demonstrations and events to come to conclusions. I'll also be talking about this topic from a wholly artistic perspective, why it makes your art look worse, and how you can avoid this issue. Now, onto the topic at hand. In the context of art, media, and entertainment, whitewashing refers to the practice of altering historical or cultural depictions to favor white people or Western norms. In the internet space, however, this mostly tends to refer to the practice of outright drawing black characters or black-coded characters in a way that makes them appear white. For example, drawing Garnet from Steven Universe with straightened hair and pale skin as opposed to her afro hairstyle and dark purple, pink skin. Greywashing is a bit different. It's the process of drawing skin tones of people with darker skin tones in a desaturated or flat-out gray manner. This is a lot harder for people to outright call out, as in a technicality, they aren't whitewashed, just looking like they need a tub of Vaseline really fucking badly. This practice is more common in East Asian countries. A lot of popular games and anime feature characters who are either tanned slightly or severely desaturated. Examples include Genshin Impact's characters Ian-san, who is severely grayed out, and Dea, who is supposedly Middle Eastern but very pale for being Middle Eastern and also in the sun all day. Whitewashing removes or diminishes the presence of non-white cultures, traditions, and peoples in art. This practice denies marginalized communities the opportunity to see their identities reflected accurately in media, art, or historical depictions. Non-white characters, stories, and cultural elements are replaced by white ones, leading to a lack of visibility for underrepresented groups. Genshin Impact is another good example of this. The fictional nations of Sumeru and Natlan are based on countries with mostly POC populations. Sumeru is based off of the Middle East and some Southeast Asian countries, including India as a main inspiration. The depiction of Sumeru in Genshin Impact has faced criticism for several reasons, primarily relating to cultural representation, race, and appropriation. Sumeru, a region in the game, draws inspiration from the Middle East, South Asia, and North Africa (MENASA) regions. The majority of the playable characters from Sumeru have light skin, European-like facial features, and hair colors that do not reflect the diversity of the real-world regions the game takes inspiration from. Natlan is inspired by Latin America, Mesoamerican, South American, Pacific Islander and indigenous cultures. It has the same problem as Sumeru, where the characters supposedly are from populations mostly composed of darker-skinned peoples, but most of them are light. Excluding Ian-san, but like I've stated before, she's grayed out as fuck. Well, I just went on a tirade about how major companies whitewash their own characters, but how exactly does this go down to an individual artist level? When Pokémon Sword and Shield released, so did a new water gym leader named Nessa. She's also one of the few POC main characters, and what do people do? Whitewash her to hell and back, either to troll sensitive people, or out of a thought that her as white is better. Both of these actions are blatantly harmful as hell, but there's a secret third thing going on with this sort of issue. That brings me into the next point. There have been several controversies where people have been accused of whitewashing when in reality it was due to how the artist usually balances colors. Specifically, with pastel palettes. These are a lot harder to come to a conclusive decision. It's usually a case-by-case basis on how you can point out genuine whitewashing with a shitty excuse, or someone simply just having the character in a different palette. Here's a few ways you can tell for yourself. What is the color palette? If the character retains all of their colors from their base design, with only a change to lighten the skin, congrats. You found whitewashing. However, if a whole color palette has been changed, then it's harder to tell. What is the character's appearance? Skin tone is not the only signifier of race. Another common sign of whitewashing is the modification of a character's facial features to fit whiter beauty standards. This can include narrowing the nose, changing the shape of the eyes, softening or straightening naturally textured hair, altering other distinct facial characteristics tied to their ethnicity, e.g., fuller lips being made thinner. Whitewashing can sometimes be more subtle, involving not just physical changes, but also de-emphasizing elements of a character's cultural identity. This can happen when culturally significant clothing, symbols, or aesthetics associated with the character are removed or altered to be whiter. What usually goes hand in hand with whitewashing is commodification or sexualization of the character's native race, cultural background, or important symbols and artifacts. A well-known example is a kimono being brought down enough to show the bulk of a woman's breasts and thighs, and hug around her figure, while real kimonos are usually bulkier and hide a lot of bodily features. The easiest way to avoid whitewashing in your works is to simply research the racial background you're wanting to give a character. You will make a better character when you put in the effort to make them more well-rounded with special care to their background. In terms of physically whitening your character accidentally, a good way to avoid it is to stick with color picking your character's skin tone when laying down flat coloring. Instead of picking a color palette, you should either use layer effects if working digitally, or simply just overlay colors if using a traditional medium. In my personal opinion, whitewashing is a frankly easy thing to avoid if you put actual care into the artwork you put out. The people who claim they do it for stupid reasons, such as, "This is the beauty standard of where I'm from," or "This character looks better when they're white," are just racists who use shitty excuses to not seem racist. In conclusion, whitewashing in the art industry is bad because it reinforces systemic racism, erases marginalized voices, distorts history, and perpetuates a culture of exclusion. For art to be truly reflective of the world, it must embrace diversity, authenticity, and equity, providing space for all cultures to tell their stories without distortion. Thank you for watching, and good night.